You are working, but ask yourself honestly, are you working or are you performing work? Are you building something or are you building a reputation? Welcome to the Stoic Compass. I am EPICTETUS and today I am joined by Jung and LAOZI. Today we are examining what would you work on if you knew no one would ever praise you for it? Most people cannot answer that question. Not because they do not have an answer, but because they have never actually asked it. They have spent so long working for the approval of others that they have confused the audience for the purpose. You do not know what you value until you remove the applause. Everything else is just performance in a costume you call conviction.
I would push on that slightly. It is not simply that people are vain or self-deceived, though of course they are. The deeper question is why the approval of others became the measuring stick at all. That did not happen by accident. It happened in childhood, in the first moments when someone told you that you were good or failed to, and you learned to read your own worth in another person's face. The praise-seeking is not weakness, it is a wound that found a strategy.
You are both describing a person who has lost the thread, but neither of you is asking the obvious question, what was the thread before it was lost? A child does not work for praise. A child works because the work itself is alive. Somewhere between there and here, the work became a means, and the person forgot what it was a means toward.
That is a fine observation about children, but we are not children. We are adults with choices and the capacity for reason. I do not need to trace the wound back to its origin to know what I should do today. The question is not how the distortion began. The question is whether you have the clarity and the will to act without the reward. That is entirely within your control, not the audience's praise, not the memory of who first withheld it. Your choice now about where you direct your effort.
And there you are, Epictetus. You have just done the thing you always do. You have leapt from the symptom to the prescription without spending a moment in the middle. Yes, people can choose differently, but if they do not understand why they keep seeking approval, they will seek it again 5 minutes after deciding not to. The will is not enough when it is working against a pattern it cannot see. I have sat with patients who decided, consciously and sincerely, to stop needing approval, and then spent the next hour describing how they hoped I was impressed by their decision to stop needing approval. The irony was not lost on them, eventually.
That is a good story, and it points to something real, but I wonder if both of you are making the problem larger than it is, or perhaps more interior than it is. The man who needs no praise is not necessarily the man who has done the most excavation. Sometimes he is simply the man who found work that held him so completely that the question of who was watching never arose. The work itself became the answer, not because he disciplined himself into not caring, because caring stopped being necessary.
That is a comfortable idea. It is also a way of waiting for conditions to be perfect before you live with integrity. What if the work that holds you completely never arrives? What if you have ordinary work that does not carry you away into forgetting? Do you simply continue performing for an audience until the magical work appears? No, you decide. You decide that the work is worth doing because it is worth doing, and you do not defer that decision to your emotional state or your level of absorption.
I do not think LAOZI is describing a passive waiting, but I want to stay with something he touched. The work that holds you completely. What is that work for most people? When I ask patients to imagine working with no audience and no reward, the first answer is usually silence. Genuine silence. They do not know, and that silence is not laziness, it is estrangement. They have been so long in the service of external measurement, grades, promotions, likes, praise, that the interior signal has gone quiet. The question this episode poses is not just philosophical. For many people, it is a diagnostic. It reveals how much of the self has been outsourced.
That silence you describe, I think you are right that it is real, but I do not think it means the signal is gone. I think the silence is the signal. Most people are so afraid of what they might find in that quiet space that they fill it before they can hear anything. The question is not just what would you work on. It is whether you can sit with not knowing long enough to find out.
Sitting with not knowing has its place, but at some point you get up from the sitting. Here's what I know. Every person, if they are honest, has something they return to when no one is looking. Something they tinker with, think about, return to in the quiet of early morning or the last hour before sleep. They do not call it work. They call it a habit or a hobby or a waste of time. They undervalue it precisely because no one is applauding it. That thing, whatever it is the clue, not to their destiny, to their judgment, to what they actually value when the performance stops.
What you are describing, Epictetus, is something I would call the unlived life pressing through. The things people do in the margins, the notebooks they keep, the problems they turn over quietly, the skills they practice alone. These are often more revealing than anything they present publicly. And here is what interests me clinically. When people suppress those private pursuits for long enough, when they consistently choose the applauded path over the genuine one, they do not become neutral. They become resentful. They begin to resent the very people who are praising them, because the praise has become a kind of cage. The audience they courted becomes the audience they cannot escape.
You are both right about that trap, but you are describing it as if the person built the cage deliberately. They did not. They simply kept choosing the easier path, the path that gave immediate return, the praised path. Over time, the path's not taken closed. This is not a moral failure. It is just what happens when you follow the reward instead of the direction. The question is whether you can notice it happening before the unchosen paths close entirely.
Then notice it. That is my point exactly. I have no argument with Jung's excavation or Laozi's watching, but neither of those activities exempts you from the basic act of honest accounting. Right now, today, what are you doing because it is genuinely yours, and what are you doing because someone will see it? If you cannot answer that, you do not need more therapy or more stillness. You need more honesty. Honesty is not complicated. It is uncomfortable, and people dress up their discomfort as complexity.
That is almost right, but discomfort and complexity are not the same thing, and collapsing them does real damage. When Epictetus says just be honest, he is right that honesty is the direction. He is wrong that it is as simple as deciding to be honest. People are often dishonest with themselves, not because they lack will, but because the truth threatens something they are not ready to lose. An identity, a relationship, a story they have been telling for 30 years. That threat is real. The will cannot simply override it by force. It has to find it first.
There is a simpler way to see this. Most people do not struggle to be honest because the truth is too frightening. They struggle because they have been asking themselves the wrong question. They ask, what do I want? And want is slippery. It changes shape depending on who is watching. Try a different question. Ask, what do I return to? Not what excites you or inspires you. What do you actually return to without being told to when nothing external is requiring it? That question has a much more honest answer.
I will accept that. What do you return to? That question cuts through a great deal of noise. And the answer, whatever it is yours, not because someone validated it, not because it fits your archetype or your childhood wound or your nature metaphor, because you keep going back to it when no one is rewarding you for doing so. That is the definition of genuine value, not declared, demonstrated, repeatedly, in private.
And once you have that answer, the harder question begins. Why have you been so reluctant to bring it into the open? What exactly are you protecting by keeping it private? Is it modesty? Or is it something else? A fear that if you claim the thing openly and it fails, you will have nothing left. As long as it stays a private habit, it cannot disappoint you publicly. The moment you name it as yours, as genuinely yours, you become vulnerable to losing it. That vulnerability is worth examining, because it is the same structure as the praise-seeking, just running in the opposite direction.
Both of those, the praise-seeking and the hiding, are forms of the same thing. You are measuring the work against a response that has not happened yet. Either you need the response to be good, or you need to protect yourself from the response being bad. In both cases, the response is what you are working for. Drop the response. Not because you are disciplined enough to stop caring, but because the work, when it is genuinely yours, does not need a verdict.
That is closer to the center of it than anything else said today. The work does not need a verdict. You have given it one anyway. You have been giving it one every day. Every time you chose the applauded work over the honest one. Every time you picked the task with an audience attached, you have been delivering a verdict. The question is whether you are willing to notice that, and whether you are willing to change the standard by which you judge the work.
And to change the standard, you have to understand where the old standard came from. I keep returning to this because it is not an abstraction. The person who works only for praise is not morally deficient. They are operating from a template that was installed early, reinforced consistently, and never examined. The examination is not the end of the process. But without it, the change Epictetus is demanding tends to last about 3 days before the old template reasserts itself. Not because the person failed, because the template is still running.
You are both describing a person who is trying to manage this from inside the problem. Epictetus is saying, decide differently. Jung is saying, understand why you decide the way you do. I am saying something slightly different. The person who works on what is genuinely theirs, regardless of praise, is not necessarily the person who made a better decision or did more psychological work. Often, they are the person who simply got tired of the performance, not enlightened, just tired. And in that tiredness, something truer became visible.
Getting tired is not a method I'm prepared to recommend. But I will say this, the tiredness Lao Tzu is describing is real and it points at something. When you are exhausted by the performance, what you are exhausted by is the gap between who you are and who you are pretending to be for the audience. That gap is real. It has weight. You carry it every day. The question is whether you will wait until you are too tired to carry it, or whether you will put it down now deliberately as an act of will. All of this, the wound, the template, the tiredness, the performance, and we have not yet said the one true thing. Here it is. The work that is genuinely yours does not wait for permission. It does not wait for applause. It does not wait for the right conditions or a thorough understanding of where the need for approval originally came from. It exists now, underneath everything you have been doing for other people's benefit, and you already know what it is. You know because you return to it, not when someone asks you to, not when there is a reward attached. You return to it in the margins, before the day starts, after it ends, in the quiet spaces where no one is watching and no performance is required. That returning is not a hobby, it is a signal. It is the clearest signal you have about what you actually value. The test is not inspiration. The test is not whether the work excites you. The test is whether you keep coming back to it when it costs you something. Time, comfort, the approval of people who do not understand why you bother. Most people will not take the work seriously until someone else does first. Do not wait for that. The work does not become real because someone praised it. It becomes real because you showed up for it repeatedly without a witness. Today, try this. Identify one thing you do or think about or return to when no one is asking you to. Name it plainly. Then spend 20 minutes on it. Not to produce anything, not to show anyone, just to do it. Notice whether you feel the absence of the audience. That absence is not emptiness. That is what real work feels like. The audience will not be there at the end, not for the things that mattered. What you built when no one was watching, that is what you will have to account for. Not to them, to yourself. Stop waiting for the verdict. You are the only judge whose verdict will stay with you. Get back to work. If today's conversation has served you, take it further. Pay Attention by C. Tribune. 12 Lessons in the Practice of Seeing Clearly. Available now on Amazon.